My name's George Tyson. I'm an EdTech advisor for North Yorkshire Schools ICT, and I'm also a senior education advisor with the School Improvement Service. What we are here for today is Minibytes session 18. For some reason, it's misbehaving itself in my PowerPoint slide today. There we go, session 18, which is what I can do in OneNote and Class OneNote. This is a bit of a broad spectrum area which covers different parts of the software itself, different versions of the software, and also the tools within those different aspects of OneNote. We'll be taking you through different guises, but before I say that, I just want to mention that this is brought to you by NES, which is North Yorkshire Education Services, and Schools ICT, which is North Yorkshire's service which supports all school technician service and also hardware and software purchases and management. Together, the EdTech service and Schools ICT are rebranding as NES Digital, so you'll be seeing that up and coming in the future in different events. This is session 18 on what I can do with OneNote and Class OneNote. So let me begin. So this is a view of OneNote, as you might recognize it from a screen. It's a class notebook, but I'm going to take you back a little bit out of this picture, and we're going to go to the very beginning. So in Teams, you may or may not be aware that in your Teams environment, you have a tool called Class Notebook or OneNote Notebook. You can set this up anytime you set up a team, and the type of OneNote notebook you get is different depending on the team setup you do. If I create a new team, by going up here, once I've logged in, join or create team, I may have the option to create a team. It depends on how you're set up. But if you have the power to create a team, you'll get 4 different team types. I'm not going to create one today because that's a different training session, but each team type has its own version of OneNote. The class team type creates something called Class OneNote Notebook, and a Class OneNote Notebook has other features which are quite interesting to use and share with your colleagues in school. You can share with TAs, you can share with other teachers, but also you can share with students on a different level of interaction. The PLC version of Teams, the Professional Learning Community team, is based on peers in a working group together. So the names of the sections in a notebook are different when a team is set up as a professional learning community, and the OneNote notebook reflects this in its layout. You have a staff option when you're creating a team type. The staff administrative option in Teams is peer-to-peer. You have very similar access for everybody. You don't have any students in professional learning communities or in staff notebooks, but what you do have is you have a similar distribution where you have 1 or 2 members of colleagues in charge. The final one is other. Now the other one includes clubs and study groups and so on, as you can see on that Teams image there. But what we're looking for in this other option is actually to see what the notebook involves. Now, the 3 to the right hand side, so everything apart from class, will create a standard OneNote notebook for your team. That means that anybody who's in the team will get their own individual section. Anybody who's owning or has control over the notebooks will have access to all the sections. In a class, this is best described as being the teacher can see everybody's work, the children can see their own work, but then you have these shared sections, which I'll come to shortly. I'm going to create a new class and we'll just have a look at this, how this goes. This is just an example. I'm not going to put in any more detail because we're not doing teams today, we're just doing OneNote. So I'm creating an example team. I'm not going to add students, I'm just going to skip that for now. And you can see here that I'm in my example class and I have an option here of class notebook. This would just be OneNote notebook if it was a different team type. If I click on class notebook, I get the chance to set up a OneNote class notebook, and this is from the very beginning. I can set up a blank notebook or I can pick existing notebook content. If I click on existing notebook content, I will get this layout in a default setup. I can change things as I go later on if I want to. This I've put on screen because it's really useful to see how the notebook works. In the top area, you have the collaboration space. Now in a collaboration space, anybody can see what's in the collaboration space and everybody can edit the content in that area. So this is where you do group work area. You might have subgroups having different page access, but in the collaboration space, anybody can feed in, anybody can edit, anybody can change and delete content. The next section down that you get by default is a content library. Now this is where the teacher can edit the content, but only the students can view or download or remove content from it. So this is ideal for publishing course materials. This is the equivalent of your photocopier, if you will. This is where your master sheets go, and then the students can come in or you can share them directly with the students by pushing them out to the students through the content library. They can see it, they cannot interact with it. Prior to using the photocopier, you need your teacher-only section. This is the equivalent of the teacher's personal folders or personal supply of resources. It's a private space for teachers to develop their own work or to store their OneNote content before being seen by students. So the students cannot view this section and cannot do anything with anything in this section. However, the teachers can edit and work together. If you've got multiple teachers or TAs who have the teacher access rights in this notebook section. This means that the teachers can prepare resources in advance before publishing it to the content library, or further up, publishing it to the collaboration space if they want student interaction. The final section is delineated by the phrase student notebooks. That's a private space for each student. Now, please note that the teachers have access to every student notebook in their class, and the students only have access to their own named notebook. So if I had 3 students in my class or 30 students in my class, each of those individuals would only see their own name as their student notebook. The teacher would see all 3 or all 30 in the class. And that's how it works. In this example, I've not got any students in my class, so I'm just going to add a couple now, and then I'm going to move on from there. So I'm going to add a member as a student. I'm going to add my colleague Christiane because she's present on this call. And I'm also going to add my colleague Chris, just to show how this works. Chris used to be my example. If I click on add to these students, their names are there and I close it, I can then carry on by pressing next on OneNote. You'll see here that on the next stage in class notebook, I can add content to the content library before it gets created. And I can also add content to the teacher only section before it gets created. And this is just to help me prepare from existing resources. I can add content straight away. Straightforward, you just click on add content and you can copy from an existing notebook. I'm going to copy from this Minibytes secondary classroom notebook and click on next. So this is just copying the sections through. You can see I've got my content library there, which has got using the content library, and a teacher only section, which has got different areas. So I click on next, and I can click on done if I want to, or I can go back out of this, and I can just go with the default sections, which I'm going to do today. The next stage is what the students will see. So each student's private space has prearranged sections, and you can see here they've got handouts, class notes, homework, quizzes, and so on. You can change and add sections and push out sections as time goes on. So if you wanted to just have one section per topic theme, for example, you could delete these by clicking on the cross and delete them. You might want to have class notes and homework, and you might want to change this one to being the topic title. It's up to you. So if we're doing a science class, this one might be living things. And that might be the topic. And then later on in the term, I will add another section for forces, for example, as a different topic title. And the homework section there, I will leave that in place, and we'll see what happens when we create this notebook. It takes a moment, not very long, but what happens during this creation period is it's searching through the team, it's seeing who the teachers are on that team, who the students are on that team, and it's creating the notebook content so each student has things in place. So I'm just going to turn off my notifications there, because I don't need them. Let's just click on that, and I'm just going to make sure we don't get any more pings up. So here we go. We've now got the notebook in place. Go away from there, thank you. And we've got one notebook. Let's go back to this one here. Okay, so here we go. The notebook has been created, and I can see here that that notebook is in place and it's working neatly. I can see the class notebooks in place. If I click on the sections here to show the navigation, and click on look down here, I can see the names of each individual child. I've got Christiane and Chris there as children. If I click on Christiane, I can see her homework and her living things sections. Chris has got the same living things and homework. And up here, we've got the collaboration space, which everyone can see. Content library, which everyone can see and access, but not edit. The teacher only section, which is my notes area. And there's guides on each page for OneNote and Class OneNote. I'm going to move on from this Class OneNote. I'm just going to go on to this here, which is a different class notebook, which shows a classroom notebook in use. You can see I've got different individuals in this class, but Christiane and Chris are still there. But that's how you distribute a page. I can distribute a new section to all students by clicking on distribute new section, and you can put that across, and you can change the sections as we go. We can call this, so forces might be the next topic. If it's a science class, if I click on distribute that section, I get the distributing going through, and I'll see the updates taking place in my students. Oh, there you go. Chris has got forces in place there. Christiane's an external guest, that's why it's not working. Russell, we should see, also has forces as his sole section because he didn't have a section before. I'm going to stop sharing this screen and I'm going to go to a different version of OneNote because the 3 versions of OneNote exist. This version here is a desktop version of OneNote, but this desktop version of OneNote is actually what you see when you first install Microsoft products. So Microsoft products include Windows 10, or it might be an earlier version of Windows, but this is OneNote 2016. Now, don't let the number fool you or worry you. It's not 5 years out of date. 2016 is being updated as it goes. But if you see this look of OneNote notebooks, you'll find that actually it does look cosmetically different, but it's functionally very similar. I've put a few pointers in here just to help out. If you like keyboard shortcuts, you can go for Control-T to make a new section. So just do Control-T on this screen here. You'll see section 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and so on. If I want to add a different page number, sorry, I forgot which section I was in there. Now there you go. Section 13, unlucky for some. If you do Control Alt and N, it inserts a new page below. So these are the pages in this middle value here. If I do Control Alt and N, you'll see I get a new page below. And you can see the cursor going down as it goes. Or a new page, if I just do Control and N, it creates new pages at the very bottom. This is all you need to know about OneNote. As you work in pages, you put the pages into sections, and they're all saved in a notebook. It's the same as having pieces of paper in a child's book or in a folder, and that folder in a filing cabinet. That's how OneNote works. 2016 is fairly straightforward. The version I used before in Teams is a version of online notebook. Online OneNote notebook. This one is a class notebook, but it all works the same way. And if you want to pop it out to get a bigger view like this is using the OneNote in the web browser, which you can access either directly through your office.com account, or you can access it by clicking on OneNote in Teams, and then looking at here the Open in Browser option, and you've got the choice of a desktop app or browser. There is one other version of notebook available to you, OneNote notebook available to you, which I'm going to need to stop sharing my screen in Teams just to enable me to share correctly. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen, and I'm going to share on my second screen, second computer. So do apologize for the delay here. Share this content. I'm going to share the desktop here, and now you can see OneNote for Windows 10. So OneNote for Windows 10 is a slightly different tool. It's more in line with the web version of OneNote, but it does have multiple different options as well. With OneNote for Windows 10, you have some amazing tools in here, which I'm going to demonstrate very briefly. The first one is when you insert, you've got the maths option here. Now, as a maths tool, you can write an equation in ink or type it on the keyboard, and select your equation and do the maths for you. If you've seen my OneNote example already, you'll have seen this before. So let's just very quickly do this. 2x squared plus 3 equals 2. Let's just go for a simpler equation. It does work with more complex equations as well. Okay, 2x squared plus 3 equals 2. Select an action. I can solve it for x and graph both sides in 2D. Or I can graph it in 2D. So you can see these tools here straight away. If I graph both sides in 2D, I can hover over it and it shows me the coordinates wherever I go. So this is really useful, like a version of a graphical calculator as we go. If we pick a simpler formula, so I'm just going to pick a simpler formula here. So x squared plus 7 equals 3. I'm going to do one more lasso. Click on the maths. X squared plus 7 equals 3. That's better. It likes my writing there. If I click on graph both sides, you can see the graph again there. And if I just quickly fix this and just change this, I just want to delete this section. I'm going to go here, maths, x plus 7 equals 3, and I can do linear equations by solving for x. I can then show me the steps. If I solve the steps, if I need it, I can click on this here, which is Immersive Reader, which will then read out loud what I'm doing, what I'm seeing. It will take me through the steps, step by step, what's going on, which is really useful for supporting students in maths. So it tells me in a very graphic way what to do, how to do it, and there are voice settings as well, which I'm not going to share today. That's Immersive Reader. That's present in most places on OneNote, and you can access it wherever you want to. There is Draw to Shape as well. So ink to text. I I've already shown off my writing skills are not recognized by OneNote very well, so I'll just put down hi there. If I then lasso the area, I can click on ink to text and it recognizes my writing hi. If I click ink to shape, it's a toggle on or off. If I now ink something, it will then recognize the shape once I click on the pen. So if you'll recognize a triangle or a circle attempt, there we go, circle attempt, square attempt, diamond attempt, and so on. So I can draw these things in OneNote. It works very well in Windows 10, the downloaded version. If you want to do something else in OneNote, you might want to make a list of jobs to do. So a list of jobs, and I'm just going to put in some text here. Once you have your list of jobs in place, you can select that list and you can tag these tools. So what we can do with the tags on these tools is we can actually add section areas to them. We can right click on it and we can use this icon here, which is different tags. If it's a to-do list, it puts in empty boxes. I can tick them as I go, which is really handy for controlling your workflow. If I don't have the to-do list, I can right click again, change my tags and put on important, a question, or remember for later. And in different versions of OneNote, you can add different layers of tags at the same time. So that's how to do and all important at the same time. There's a million and one things you can do in OneNote. You can read aloud things. You've got immersive reader built in as well. On the view immersive reader. And immersive reader will then look through your OneNote. It will extract the text and it can share it in a readable format, bearing in mind that I've not written anything in sensible English there. As we go, I'm going to show you one final thing before we go, and this is the audio button here. You can use the audio button to record your voice straight into OneNote, and it can record you as a sample. So if I just click on this, you can see my sample is recording as it goes. If I click on stop, I've then got a 10-second recording of my voice, which I can then just click on and play as I go. That is playing, but I'm not sharing my computer audio, so you can't hear it. So you can record audio commentary. If students submit their work in a OneNote notebook, you can just click on the audio button there. So along these options across the top, it's on the insert and audio. You can click on a section, give verbal feedback, and that's recorded straight away. That will save you a whole host of time. There's many other tools there in OneNote notebook, but I'm not going to go into them any further today. So thank you so much for spending the time to be with me for that whistle-stop tour across the 3 different notebooks from 2016, the web version and Office 2010, Windows 10 OneNote. If you've got any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, you might find it useful to go to my keyboard shortcuts video from recent days in 2021 and 2021, because I talk a lot more about the notebook tools in that session. So if there's any questions, please add them into the chat. Otherwise, thank you for listening.